going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Scripts. It is Wednesday, May 27th, 2020, and this right here is your AEW Dynamite review post-show coming out of AEW Double or Nothing on Saturday night, which I very much enjoyed, and all the fallout coming out of Dynamite and Double or Nothing, man. What a show it was tonight. Very much a must-see show for Dynamite. A loaded show. They didn't really hold any punches back on Dynamite tonight. We got Mike Tyson, Chris Jericho, the Inner Circle, Mike Tyson's entourage, going to blows in a chaotic ending to AEW Dynamite. Did not necessarily care for it. I know you guys might have found it to be exciting. I don't know what's going on with Mike Tyson. I don't know if he's actually trying to get back into the ring. I don't know if the match with Tyson Fury is actually still happening or it's still in the negotiation process. I don't think Mike Tyson should be in the boxing ring at all at his age, in his current condition. That's just me. Maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. I don't know if that is the case. But Mike Tyson and AEW, yeah, they brought him on Saturday night to present the title to either Lance Archer or Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes won that TNT Championship. He's on the show tonight. I legitimately thought Mike Tyson was going to be on the show to announce that he will be going one-on-one with Tyson Fury. What a moment that would have been for Mike Tyson and AEW. But that did not happen, and he's just playing right into a storyline that I'm not necessarily excited about. And we'll go over why I'm not excited about it and where it could potentially lead going into Fyter Fest on the podcast tonight. The other big thing that happened tonight was the arrival of the Revival. Now, they're obviously not known as the Revival on AEW Dynamite, but we got, finally, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler of FTR. They are on Dynamite. My goodness, with them being added, look at the AEW Tag Team Division. It shits all over WWE's non-existent, fucking terrible Tag Team Division. Love it. Absolutely love it, man. This is going to be, you know, if anything with AEW, they promised you tag team wrestling at the forefront. And I think they kind of lived up to that end of the bargain there. Now you add the Revival, man, and Jim Ross said it best tonight. And I got to get used to calling them FTR, not the Revival, so pardon me. Jim Ross said it best. These two teams, with FTR in AEW now, just look at the current state of the tag team division, first of all, and look at the Revival, FTR, look at these guys, and then look at the Young Bucks. These two teams aren't even tag team champions. Two of the best tag teams in the world could be tag team champions in any promotion. They're in our division, and they're not even the tag team champions. The two best teams in all of tag team wrestling in our company, and they're not even the tag team champions. I mean, what the fuck does that say about it? What does that say about the division in AEW? WWE's tag team division, if you put all of the teams together legitimately that are on TV or have been on TV on Monday and Friday night, it wouldn't even equal a third of what AEW's tag team division is. It's unbelievable. I'm excited for them to be there, and you're not going to believe what AEW, at least coming out of the gate, has done with the Revival. The way that they booked the Revival. I'm going to call them the Revival because it's just rolling off my tongue. FTR. You're not going to believe how they booked FTR on the show tonight. It's not exactly what you think. It's not exactly what you were expecting on Dynamite with the Young Bucks. We're going to go over that and why I loved it so much. And this is really what makes AEW stand apart from what WWE does. WWE would usually do something that is very generic or boring or really illogical or uncreative. AEW, they got these guys. It's easy to do the logical thing, but they didn't. They're going to let you wait. I'm going to tell you why they let it wait for the match that we all want to see between FTR and the Young Bucks a little bit later in the show. Hikaru Shida was in action. She won the Women's Championship on Saturday night from Nyla Rose. We got Brooke Baker advertised. She told us when she will return to action in the AEW Women's Division. We got the Inner Circle pep rally, which was very entertaining. Jon Moxley and Brian Cage. That match was set up for Fyter Fest. We're going to go over that and how that came about and why I necessarily do not like it whatsoever. And Cody Rhodes, he's got his first challenger for the TNT Championship. There was a battle royal tonight. Something I really didn't care for. I wish AEW would have done something a little bit more prestigious with this new title being introduced to the mid-card of AEW. But Cody Rhodes has his first challenger. We'll go over who it is, why I don't necessarily mind it, why I would have done something different to get there. And Cody Rhodes, always a great promo, has stated that this is indeed, without saying it actually in these words, this title, the TNT Championship, is their version of the TV Championship, the television championship of old. He will defend it every week. Every time he's on TNT, he will defend it. It is the station's championship. Now, I don't necessarily like that. I love the way Cody comes off. Obviously, everything he does hits you right here, you know, because that's the way he is. That's the way he was born and raised in this business, to come from the heart, right? To really just attack on those emotions. And everything he does just feels important. That's why I love Cody Rhodes so much. But I don't necessarily like the fact that Cody Rhodes is going to be defending this title every single week. I'm going to tell you, it's going to start out exciting. This is something that's going to get very boring very quickly if AEW is going to go this route. It could lend us to Dynamite to get some interesting matchups in the early stages of this thing, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be a strategic option for the long run, defending this title every single week on TNT. It's going to get boring very quickly. So we'll go over that and why I think it could work in the early stages and why I don't necessarily think it's going to be something that is a lasting option for the TNT Championship. So that is what we got lined up. I got news coming out of Double or Nothing as well. I got a major story on Kenny Omega getting into it on social media with some fucking geek about the women's division. So we'll go over that as well. A loaded show. A loaded Dynamite show tonight on Off the Script. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here on the podcast. Thank you guys for all the love and support this week. If you were living in a cave somewhere or living under a rock or living under SmackDown's fucking waitlist show, because it's so fucking garbage, we had an issue earlier this week that I will not be bringing up, but all I want to say is I have not received this much love and appreciation in forever, man. It may be the only time I've ever received this type of support and appreciation and love. I also, on the other hand, never received this much hate and people wanting me not to exist anymore. But it's amazing, man, how you guys have come to bat for me so much, and I can't even begin to even express into words what that means to me. If I could buy you guys a round of cold beverages, I absolutely would. It would cost me a ton of money. It would be the biggest bill in the history, but I would do it. But it's amazing, man, with all of everything that happened, you know, it's very eye-opening who's with you and who's not, you know. It's very eye-opening who is there texting you, slipping into your DMs to check on you, calling you, you know, just giving you advice on what to do. And not even that, whether it's advice or lending an ear just to talk bullshit, you know, spew whatever you got on your mind. Whoever reached out to me via a text, a phone call, a DM, whatever, man, showed your appreciation publicly on Twitter, on social media, or on Instagram. You know, I love you guys. I really do. And it's amazing to me how this situation kind of made me really weed out who really doesn't give a shit about me, who never gave a shit about me, who wants to see me fail, you know. And the perception is the perception of me in the community. I can't help how you feel or what you think. Whatever you're hearing is a crock of shit. To be honest with you, I am not anywhere close to what they say I am. So you guys know that, and that's all that matters. The people in my life, the people that are close to me, the people who have been with me, ride or die, all these years, you guys know that, and I couldn't give a single shit about what anybody else thinks about me because nobody does what we do here. Nobody. Nobody. And I mean that wholeheartedly. This is the best fucking podcast in the entire community. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I could conform, I could be just like everybody else, but where would that get me? What would that make me look like, you know? I could be a cookie cutter bullshit artist. I could be here, you know, talking positively and being boring. But then who would I be? How would I stand out amongst everybody else? This is why I love being that option of, you know what? This guy is real. He's not like everybody else. And I've been that way for 6 years. Every single week while this podcast has been off the script. And I'm not going to change. No matter how many people think because I had to issue an apology that I'm going to change, I'm not going to change the way I think about anything. Don't worry. Don't worry. This is step one, and then come this weekend, you're in for a fucking treat, because Off the Script is going to be the best ever. So just look forward to that, and I want to thank you guys very much for all of your support. Follow me on social media. We are almost at 32,000 followers on Twitter, man. Unbelievable. At JDfromNY206. Follow me on Instagram as well. Same at JDfromNY206. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for 117,000 subscribers on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications as well. And if you guys want to support the podcast via Patreon, you can certainly do that as well. Patreon.com/JDfromNY206. And if you missed any of my other videos off the script from last weekend, we got AEW stuff, Monday Night Raw, the review from Monday Night Raw, which was not a bad show. They actually had people in attendance to bring life to the show. If you guys want my thoughts on that, which I thought was a great podcast, go and check that out. Links are down below in the description of this very video, man. Awesome, awesome stuff. Let's get into the review. We opened the show with the Inner Circle. They were standing by a truck. They were amongst a ton of boxes of Stadium Stampede Championship t-shirts. So they had all these t-shirts. They had them made. They thought they were going to win the Stadium Stampede and be crowned Stadium Stampede champions. They lost, and now they're sitting on all this merchandise, all these shirts that they can't sell because they aren't the champions of the Stadium Stampede. I guarantee you, if you put them on Pro Wrestling Tees, people will buy it. Even though they lost, people will buy them. I would wear one. I would absolutely wear one. I wouldn't pay $30 on Pro Wrestling Tees for one, but if you give it to me for 50% off, I'll take one. I'll take one. So not only was there a box of them, but Santana Ortiz popped open the back of a truck, and this entire truck was filled with them. And we were getting ready for their big pep rally tonight on Dynamite. Backstage, we got Adam Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and broken Matt Hardy, saying that these situations need to be documented, of course. So Page and Omega left. Page wanted to go drink. He wanted to go back to the hotel room and drink. Omega said he'd join him, but for milk, of course. And the Young Bucks asked if they could have a different version of Matt and not broken Matt, because this was a match against Private Party and Joey Janella, so they needed, I guess, loose and limber, old school Matt Hardy. So Matt walked off camera, returned as a pre-broken Matt Hardy. They asked for the earlier version of Matt Hardy, before version 1 Matt Hardy. So Matt walked off camera and then back, and he was suddenly dressed like the early Hardy Boys. They joked that they were going to have a big spot fest. I love Matt. I love everything that Matt does. Matt is one of those guys where his creativity is just, it's refreshing, to be honest with you. But I think they better be careful. This is just my personal opinion. I think they better be careful with the going back and forth between the Hardy gimmicks. You know, they did it at Double or Nothing in the pool. Fine. It was their pay-per-view. It's their biggest show of the year. Great. But this is not the only time we've seen Matt do that. He was in a match with Omega on Dynamite where he kind of dipped in and out of gimmicks. It was actually the street fight that they had where the big golf cart incident happened where they ran over Sammy G. Matt got thrown into an ice machine, and he was broken Matt Hardy when he came out. He started off as regular Matt Hardy, one of the Hardy Boys, and then he got thrown into the ice machine, and then out came, Damascus. So that was the first time they did it. Then they did it again at Double or Nothing in the Stadium Stampede. Now they did it here again. It's great. It's funny. I love it. It's entertaining. But if they do it too many times, it's not really going to feel special when they want to go and dip into that, bag of tricks that Matt Hardy pulls out. Which version of Matt Hardy is he going to be today? We came for Broken Matt. We all called for Broken Matt in AEW. Keep it as Broken Matt, and when it is necessary, then you can go back and give us Big Money Matt or early version Matt or Matt version 1 or 2 or how many versions he's got. So that's just my personal take on it. I think they should slow it down because the more you do it, the more it's not going to feel special when he does it. So that led to the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick, and Matt Hardy versus Joey Janella and the Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn, my boys. Now, this was exactly what you expected it to be. It was high-flying. It was a spot fest. It was sheer chaos. And the match itself was only the backdrop for what had happened after the match. It's great to see the Young Bucks back on TNT. Dynamite feels a little bit more of a bigger show, obviously, when they're there. They're two of the biggest stars in the company. And when they are not there, I feel like the show is a little empty at times. So I'm glad to see that Nick is back. He hasn't been on the show in about 90 days or so. Matt Jackson has bruised ribs. I don't know how he is continuing to work. I mean, he had bruised ribs. I actually got a story on Matt. Matt had bruised ribs going into the Stadium Stampede match. He worked Double or Nothing with a broken rib. Not even a bruised rib, a broken rib. And what does this guy do? He's like, you know what? I'm going to do a moonsault off the field goal post. That's Matt Jackson for you, folks. So during the brawl at the end of the show, it is reported that Matt Jackson actually suffered an injury. This was during the street fight. Now, the Young Bucks did a dive onto the inner circle during that show. There were officials that Matt, hurt his rib. There was officials there to take care of him. At the time, there was no word on whether it was broken or bruised. There was no medical update. Matt worked the match and saw the Elite go over. In a post on Instagram, Matt's wife actually said and confirmed that he did work the match with a broken rib at Double or Nothing. She wrote the following and said, I quote, "My husband is crazy, so thankful he's okay. Besides a broken rib, that match was fun but also super stressful to watch on Saturday night." So Matt Jackson, broken rib, does a moonsault off the fucking field goal posts. It's crazy. The man doesn't love what he does. He doesn't love the company. He doesn't love his work. I mean, would you do that? Not many people would. Kudos to Matt Jackson. So this was a chaotic one, and we got the baby faces, I would say here, Matt Hardy and the Young Bucks to go over. Quinn took Nick off the apron with flying head scissors. Janella hit Nick with a tope suicida. Nick avoided a silly string. Man, I miss calling silly string and hog. Janella and Nick fought to the floor. Nick accidentally hit the Butcher with a super kick in the audience. And obviously the Butcher and the Blade, they brawled with the Bucks in the crowd. The referee, Rick Knox, was preoccupied with Janella and Private Party. Now, the Butcher and the Blade, they were not dressed in their ring gear. They were dressed in white pants and white overalls. I don't know what they were doing or why they were looking the way that they were looking. They were not with the bunny. In fact, Allie was on the other side next to Brandy and Dustin. Don't know what's going on with that. But we got the Butcher and the Blade, who are now beating up the Bucks in the crowd. Nick came back with a facebuster on the stage and a destroyer. Hardy and Cassidy got tags. Hardy hit a side effect for a near fall. Hardy hit a double DDT on Private Party, a side effect on Janella, and then hit a beautiful moonsault on all three while all three were laid out for a 2 count. Match then broke down. Private Party hit stereo tope con heroes on the Bucks. Quinn came up selling his left knee. I do think it was kayfabe. I do not think it was real. So everybody that was asking me on Twitter, is Mark Quinn hurt? I don't think so. I think it was just to sell the effects of the match. Cassidy went to work on Hardy in the ring. He was distracted by Quinn being injured on the floor because obviously he wanted to see if his partner was all right. The finish came and saw when the Bucks hit more bang for your buck on Cassidy. Hardy then covered for the pin because Matt Hardy was the legal man. And that was it. As far as the tag team match goes, solid, fun, and it did its job. After the match was over, Hardy helped Quen up. Hardy helped Quen to the back. Hardy and the ref helped him to the back, and he was selling it all the way up the steps. So he was crawling up the steps, crawling on the stage to the back. And back in the ring, the Bucks were celebrating, but the Butcher and the Blade jumped the barricade again and attacked the Young Bucks. Then we see a very old pickup truck drive up into the Daly's place, the same spot where Cody foolishly drove his truck into a barricade to confront Lance Archer a couple weeks ago. And out comes Dash and Dawson, a.k.a. Cash Wheeler, and Dax Harwood, formerly the Revival, now known as FTR. So everybody wondered, the announcers wondered, what side were they going to be on? They got in the ring. They did not attack the Young Bucks. They actually attacked the Butcher and the Blade. Spike Piledriver on the Blade. The audience there. There were fans there. You didn't see them on TV barely, but they were there. The roster was there on both sides. Chants of holy shit for FTR arriving in AEW. So then they fended off the Blade. Then they turned and had an uneasy standoff with the Bucks. I believe they gave a shatter machine to the Butcher, if I'm not mistaken. And then they had a standoff and a stare down with the Bucks, but they did not attack the Young Bucks. Jim Ross called this a dream tag team scenario in AEW. FTR left the ring, and they flashed a Young Buck dollar bill in front of the camera on their way out. This was great. This was great. I popped. I loved the Revival in AEW. I told you that no matter where they end up, I was going to support them. They could have ended up in AEW. They could have ended up in NWA. They could have ended up in New Japan. But NWA and New Japan do not have shows happening right now. They were free to go. They got a get-out-of-jail-free card from Vince. Not many people are lucky to get one of those. They had no 90-day. They could have showed up in AEW 3 weeks ago. But they waited till tonight. I'm glad they didn't debut at Double or Nothing. I'm glad we got this tonight. They look great. Can't wait to see what they do. They are easily, and I said this back when they were in NXT, even then, all those years ago, which was not very long ago. They were one of the best tag teams in the world then. Still, today, you go back and watch that match with DIY, Gargano and Ciampa at TakeOver Toronto, that 2 out of 3 falls match. You will find it to be very difficult to find anything better than that. And NXT is great for tag team wrestling around that time. Now, not so much, but then you couldn't top what those guys were doing. Unbelievable. To add them to the AEW tag team division is going to be phenomenal. Look at this tag team. Look at the matches that you're going to get out of FTR. FTR versus the Lucha Brothers. FTR versus SCU. FTR versus who? No matter who it is. Jurassic Express. Private Party. There's so many tag teams in AEW. The Best Friends. That I can't even give you all the names of the tag teams in AEW. It's great. Absolutely great. WWE's tag team division, if you take WWE's tag team division on Raw and on SmackDown and combine them, it's not even a third of what AEW has. Get with the fucking program, Vince. Tag team wrestling is where it's at. It is much more difficult to find good tag team wrestling than it is your next biggest singles act. And they don't appreciate it. They don't care. That's why we're here with FTR. Now, a lot of people were wondering, well, why didn't they attack the Young Bucks? Why didn't they go and attack the Young Bucks? Why do you have to do everything that is so predictable? We all complained about Cody Rhodes and Brian Cage. Not Lance Archer. Cody Rhodes and they're all one and the same, right? Someone said to me on social media today, I can't wait to see Brian Cage and Lance Archer in the ring. Yeah, it should be great when it happens, if it happens. Cody Rhodes and Lance Archer. A lot of people were saying, well, this was too predictable. I was one of those people that said it was too predictable. I actually wanted Darby to win that tournament. But here we are. And AEW did Cody and Lance, which was predictable. We got Cody winning the title, which was absolutely the right decision. And now we got FTR. And they didn't attack the Young Bucks. A lot of people are saying, why? Why do they need to? Why do you got to do the predictable scenario? The fact that they did not attack the Young Bucks is great. The fact that they did not attack the Young Bucks is intriguing and interesting. Why bring them in and put them in a predictable scenario in this environment with no live crowd? Why do you want to blow all of your hand on the river in your first fucking game? Why? Why would you want to do that? That's not the right way to go about it. That's not really exciting for anybody, them or the fans watching at home. The fact that FTR did not attack the Young Bucks is great booking because they're going to ride this out. They're going to play the indifferent card. They're going to play the in-between card. You don't know if they're heel. You don't know if they're babyface. Why are they here? Keep them silent for as long as you can. Why are they here? Why are you here now after all the shit that you talked about us on social media? You got us here and you haven't done anything here. What are you doing here? Save it. When there is a live audience, that's when you unleash the revival, FTR, on the Bucks. When a live audience is there, that's when you get that heel pop against the big babyface tag team. Then you get the match you want, and we're off to the races. Patience is key in this one, folks. Patience is key. Why didn't they do it? Because of the environment that we're in right now. It's better to play it slow. It's better to play it slow. Put them in the oven and turn the oven on to about 325. Don't turn it all the way up to 500. You're going to burn the shit that's in the oven. It's not going to taste good. Leave it in there. Let it soak. Pull it out. Check on it. See if all the juices are right. See if there's a nice coating of crispness on the top of whatever's in there, right? You don't want to pull it out and it's all fucked up and it's burnt. Let it marinate. Let it slow cook. Then you're going to get what you want, and it's going to taste delicious. Here I am making myself fucking hungry, and I just had dinner about 2 hours ago. I'm fucking hungry again. That's the reason why. Play the indifferent card. Why show all of your cards in the first week? This is what people don't understand. This is why people complain, why did Cody win it? Why did Cody win the TNT Championship? It's so predictable. Why not? Why not? He wanted the man to roll over and die when his brother was left in a bloody mess? When his wife was defiled by Jake the Snake? And the Snake? And Jake Snake? Give me a break. It's the right outcome. And there's no better representation for that TNT Championship as number one than Cody Rhodes. Lance Archer will be fine. People still don't understand that. Take it easy. I told you, with AEW, more times than not, they're gonna play you a little bit. But they're always going to do, most of the time, I'm not saying that they've done everything correctly, but most of the time they will get it right when it comes to the creative side of things. This is not one of those instances where you got to go out there and complain to me or complain to somebody on social media. Let it sit. Don't burn the fucking dish and then you're standing there with no dinner. Give me a break. This is awesome. Jon Moxley, he strutted to the ring, AEW World Champion. We've seen his replay of his win at Double or Nothing. He sat at ringside. He wanted to get a first-hand view of Brian Cage, his next challenger for the AEW Championship. He said he sat on his couch the last couple of days recovering after Brody Lee gave him one of the toughest fights so far in AEW. He then said Brian Cage showed up seemingly out of nowhere and won the Casino Battle Royale ladder match to earn a title shot. He said it wasn't what he expected, but he said nothing has been what it has been or it should been in recent months. He said he's just rolling through and rolling with the waves as they come to him. As they show Brian Cage winning the Battle Royal, the ladder match on Sunday, Moxley dropped a couple of Jesus Christs on commentary in this match with Lee Johnson, which gives it a little bit more of a realistic feel. You know, you would never hear a Jesus Christ drop on commentary on WWE because they're so fucking, scripted. They're so, oh my God, stand in line, don't move, don't breathe. It's disgusting. So Jon Moxley on the microphone was very natural. He was just very real. You know, they didn't really put him out there with a fucking paper in hand. Read this, and we'll give you the cues on when to speak. Hate it. Brian Cage versus Lee Johnson. Lee Johnson was destroyed here in this match. 2 minutes, squash. Loving what Brian Cage is doing with Taz. I think this is awesome. This is the second week we've seen this pairing. This is going to be AEW's version of Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. And Taz and Paul Heyman have quite the history. So if there's anybody that Taz is going to emulate on AEW, it's going to be Paul Heyman. I was looking forward to hearing from Taz because, A, he's from Brooklyn. He's a New Yorker. B, the guy knows how to talk. The guy is going to be great representation for somebody like Brian Cage. And when Taz speaks, no matter what he does, he could be on WWE as a commentator. He could be on AEW Dark as a commentator. He could be on his show, The Taz Show. Anything that the man does, he's got that voice that commands attention. He's got that voice and that tone that in everything that he says, it's going to have validity behind it. It's going to have a sense of, you know what? I got to listen to this guy speak behind it. This guy's got a lot to say behind it. And that's exactly how he came off here. He addressed Moxley. He said he respects what he's done and the dues he's paid and how he's grinded and been super successful. He said at Fyter Fest, he'll be dealing with something completely different. He pointed at Cage and says he's a machine. He told him to bring his grit, not Titus's grits, his grit and his heart. He said Cage is going to reach into Moxley's chest and tear his heart out. The audience then chanted Moxley. He closed, beat him if you can. Survive if he lets you. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Mox, Cage, Fyter Fest, AEW Championship. I'm not really for it. I'm not. This early, I'm not for it. I don't know when Fyter Fest is going to happen. Clearly, it's booked. Clearly, it's going to happen for the AEW Championship. AEW cannot take that title off of Jon Moxley. So I don't know if they're going to go the same way that they did with Lance Archer. They're going to build this guy up as an unstoppable monster, and then Moxley's going to mow him down, and he's not going to really lose too much of anything. I don't know how they're going to book this ending, but Moxley cannot lose the AEW Championship. It's going to be a situation where AEW is going to have to go into this match with Moxley and Brian Cage. They're going to have to book Brian Cage as strong as humanly possible and book a finish that resembles what happened with Brody Lee at Double or Nothing. Brody Lee fell through the stage. Moxley comes out of the stage. Brody Lee comes out of the stage all busted up. There's nothing else he could do. Moxley gets a submission on him, and Brody Lee passes out. Something's going to happen along the line where they're going to have to do the same thing with Brian Cage, because if this happens in June or July, and I'm assuming it's June, I think last year was June, Brian Cage is one of those guys that just debuted in AEW. You can't have him go and win the championship already. You can't do that. And the money match is Moxley and MJF for the World Championship. That's the money match. That is your main event for Double or Nothing. Now, I don't know how they go about booking it. I haven't really given it thought yet. I didn't think they were going to do it for Brody Lee. I didn't think they were going to keep Brody Lee strong coming out of Double or Nothing. And AEW passed the test with flying colors. So I'm not going to sit here and say they can't do it, because they certainly can. There's a lot of talented people there to get the job done and give us the right creative, logical outcome. But do I think the match needs to happen now? No. I think the match is happening too soon. I would have absolutely made it a ruling with that match and that poker chip he won. I would have had it resemble a 12-month span in which he can cash that chip in. Cash that chip in at the casino. You want your title match? Let's do it. Doesn't have to be at Fyter Fest. Why does Brian Cage have to have a match with Jon Moxley and cash this chip in at the behest of management? Why can't he have the chip and cash it in whenever he wants? What fun is that? It actually gives AEW a little bit more creative freedom instead of booking Jon Moxley and Brian Cage and losing the poker chip in the process at Fyter Fest. I don't like it. I don't like it. But we'll see what happens, and it's going to happen. But all I know is Moxley and MJF is your main event for All Out. Anything else, I'm not going to be satisfied with. Now, Brian Cage, I got news on Brian Cage. When he actually signed with AEW, Brian Cage actually signed back with AEW in January, which, according to the reports, I mean, we all kind of knew he was headed to AEW, but there was a situation where the guys over at SoCal Uncensored, the news site, they actually reported that Brian Cage had signed. Then he had Melissa Santos come out and say, he didn't sign anywhere. If anybody knows where he's going or if he signed anything, it's me. I'm his wife. Brian Cage then came out like a week later and said, guys, I'm injured. I didn't sign nothing with anybody yet. But he came out and said the report was false. Everybody kind of knew he was going somewhere because he didn't go back to Impact Wrestling or he didn't have any ties to Impact Wrestling anymore. And they played it as if, listen, I didn't go nowhere. I didn't sign anything yet. So they must have been trying to cover their tracks as far as the news getting out. They didn't want anybody to kind of take this and run with it. They wanted to make it a surprise. We all knew anyway. So when he came out and when he was the mystery opponent in the ladder match, nobody was really surprised. It is what it is. You know, the age of the internet, man, ruins everything. There's no more surprises, right? But he's here. He signed back in January. And Tony Khan actually said this after Double or Nothing, and I quote, Brian signed and he was injured when he signed. There were people who were like, you paid him the whole time he was hurt and didn't get hurt in your own company. But I really like Brian, and I really believe in him. I wanted this with Brian and Taz, and I'm smiling for a reason. That's why I'm smiling. I wanted this with Brian and Taz all along, and there was a method to it, but he wasn't going to be ready until around Double or Nothing. But I always knew Brian was going to be a factor into Double or Nothing. He was always expected to be cleared in May, so we signed him, he rehabbed, and got ready. That's that. Now, it might be a little silly to you guys that Tony Khan said, you know what, I signed Brian Cage back in January, and I paid him while he was rehabilitating. I paid him during his injury, and he debuted for me in May. Why did he do that? Because you don't think WWE was going to look at Brian Cage and want to pick up Brian Cage? You don't think WWE would have paid Brian Cage to come into the WWE and pay him money? Brian Cage did the thing that Tony Khan, I didn't think he was going to do, but he did it anyway, because that's how badly Tony Khan wanted Brian Cage, and that's how badly Tony Khan probably knew WWE was going to go after Brian Cage. So he made the first move and did something that I don't think Tony Khan would have normally have done in that situation. So I find that to be funny. You know, the AEW effect, it's real in the WWE, but in this case, I'm going to say that this was a minor WWE effect here on Tony Khan signing Brian Cage to the dotted line when he wasn't doing anything for 5 months, just to get him in the company and keep him away from WWE. That's exactly what that is, and it's a smart move. How many more people does WWE need? They just got Killer Kross, Karrion Kross. They signed him. Who knows? There was no news on Tony Khan even offering him a contract. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. Maybe Tony Khan offered Kross a contract. He went to WWE instead, and Tony Khan said, fuck, I need another guy like this. Let's get Brian Cage in here. It's been around the same time that he was a free agent anyway, right? We're hearing rumors and speculation about Kross for months going into WrestleMania. So maybe Tony Khan lost out on Kross and said, I don't want to have that happen again. Let's get Cage in here. I'll pay him. I don't want to have him go to WWE too, and then WWE takes two of our guys that we wanted, and we end up with nothing. So that's what happened there with Brian Cage. It's a great pickup. Brian Cage is fucking awesome. I've been a big fan of his even when he was in Impact. Lucha Underground, just a machine, legitimately. I think the pairing with Taz is going to be great. It's going to be their version of Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. Now, obviously, Brian Cage is not Brock Lesnar, and Taz is not Paul Heyman, but Taz is an excellent mic man, and Brian Cage is every bit of a beast that you would expect. It's going to be awesome. Moving on here, man. I want to throw this in here, being that we talked about Tony Khan. Jim Ross actually explained over the weekend, over the Memorial Day weekend, the differences between Tony Khan and Vince McMahon. And I loved this comparison by Jim Ross. This was on Wrestling Observer Live. Ross was asked in an interview by Alvarez and Meltzer about how Vince McMahon and Tony Khan operate. Now, he boiled it down to what they drink to give an idea of how different their approach to things are. And you will get exactly how Tony Khan is and how Vince McMahon is by this analogy that Jim Ross makes. Normally, I wouldn't talk about this because I don't think anybody cares, but this is very interesting. It's such an easy depiction of Tony Khan and Vince McMahon. He says this, and I quote, Vince drinks Dewar's scotch. So you've got a hard scotch drinker when he drinks or a red wine. And Tony Khan is a White Claw guy. So Vince McMahon is a Dewar's scotch red wine guy. Tony Khan is a White Claw guy. Now, normally I would say that is kind of ridiculous. I am not a hard seltzer type of guy. I think that's a little off as far as beverages of choice. I think you could go with another drink a little bit more up to par. Seriously. But Tony Khan likes a White Claw. He says it's a generational thing. Guys in Vince and my demographic have been drinking scotch and red wine forever. But Tony Khan is a White Claw guy. He said that Tony Khan has difference of opinion and different experiences than Vince McMahon did. He represents the mindset of a newer generation, writing a pro wrestling television show that he would like to see. This is different from Vince McMahon, who is doing literally nothing different, nothing to push the envelope on Monday and Friday night. Same old shit, rinse and repeat, illogical garbage on Monday and Friday. And it's run, the company, by a 74-year-old, out-of-touch old man who refuses to listen to anybody in the office, anybody in the fan base, anybody on his writing staff that might be younger and more in tune with what's going on in the pro wrestling world. It's all coming from a 74-year-old Vince McMahon. A 74-year-old Vince McMahon thinks he knows what is best for the WWE on TV, and clearly he does not, especially since the news came out of Monday Night Raw again hitting a record low in the 27-year history of Raw on Monday, on Memorial Day. And don't give me the bullshit that it's Memorial Day, because they were doing that 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Tony Khan is a White Claw guy and Vince McMahon is a Scotch guy. That is a great depiction of how these two men operate and run their company. What's working? In this case, the White Claw is outshining the fancy glass of red wine that cost $49 a glass, when I can go buy a 6-pack or a 12-pack of White Claw for about $10. You make the observation on which show has been better as of late. I don't think it's that difficult to comprehend. So that was that. I thought that was very interesting. Moving on here, man. Britt Baker. Britt Baker is out. She comes out in a wheelchair. Britt Baker is one of those women that a lot of people are finding to be polarizing. You either love her or hate her. There were reports after the match with Statlander and Shida and Rose before Double or Nothing that Britt Baker, with the injury, wasn't an injury. Then we found out it was an injury. We found out it was going to be 6 to 9 months of injury that she was going to be out for. And then we found out that it's not as serious as everybody was originally reporting. So Britt Baker was here to tell us when she indeed will come back. She came out in a wheelchair, and there was a poster on the stage that said, "The rules of being a role model." Her right knee was wrapped up, obviously injured. Shivani looked nervous introducing her and tried twice to get it right, playing up the fact that Britt Baker is a role model and he wants to do right by Britt Baker. Jesse was loving this, by the way. He loves Britt Baker as of late, is what I heard. He is one of those guys that looks at Britt Baker as his role model. I believe he's got a picture of Britt Baker on his nightstand. Before he goes to bed, he looks at it and wonders, Britt, what could I do to be a better man in the morning? Am I right? I don't know. He's probably going to text me when he hears this. He's like, you motherfucker. What are you talking about? Anyway, he'll be back next week, guys. He'll be back next week. We got the role model, and she said, rule number 3 is don't hurt the role model. Rule number 1, obviously, is, Bruce, please write a better show on Friday night. Rule number 2 is Raw sucks. Do better. Rule number 3 is don't hurt the role model. The audience booed. She said she has a broken tibia, and it was the result of not an accident, but a conspiracy. Can I say that word on YouTube? I don't know, man. I might get flagged. Might have to dub in another word for that, man. She pointed out a Exhibition A on the board. She talked about the 3-on-1 situation that she was probably, I guess in the middle of, being planned for months. She said without her, there are no women in the division. There's actually no division without Britt Baker. Reba, the assistant here for Britt Baker, missed the changing of the page on the board, and we got a giant poster-sized sheet to the next page flipped over. So Reba flipped past photos of women in the women's division of AEW. And first it was Chris Statlander. You being an alien is a crock of shit, she said. Then Shida. She said Shida is a fraudulent champion. You being an alien is a crock of shit. Shida being a fraudulent champion. Then we get to Nyla Rose. She said she's seen Nyla come off the top rope hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times, and thus she had to be aiming for her leg. But Nyla Rose did not come off the top rope. She was launched by Statlander and Shida in a botched spot that actually caused Britt Baker's injury. It wasn't anything off the top rope, so I don't know what she's talking about there. She called them all conspirators. Excalibur said she was making some very serious allegations here. Next, there was a board with photos of the women and Aubrey Edwards, and a photo of the injury. She said Aubrey Edwards is the mastermind of the web of conspirators. She just happens to be around everywhere, every time I get injured. She said the joke is on them because she will be back at All Out. So she's saying her timetable for return is the end of the summer, apparently by that statement, which makes it June, July, August. So that's 3 months. That fits into the time frame of what they said on Double or Nothing. And where she fits in to plans at All Out, I don't know. Does she challenge for the AEW Women's Championship? I don't think so. She has to have a match and build some wins and some momentum to get a shot at Shida. Maybe she goes one-on-one with Nyla because Nyla was the one who injured her. I don't know. I don't know how she factors into the show at All Out, but she'll be back. She will be back. Now, with the women's division, I want to talk about what happened on social media as far as Kenny Omega interacting with some geek on social media as far as the women's division goes. Now, Deonna Purrazzo, I said it multiple times on this show, I think her joining AEW would be an absolute blessing for this division. Picking her up would be a wise decision. Tony Khan should have opened his checkbook for Deonna Purrazzo. Now, that did not happen. Deonna Purrazzo actually signed with Impact Wrestling. Her return was announced during a vignette on Tuesday's episode of Impact on Access. Purrazzo said, I am the virtuosa. Do you even know what that means? Allow me to explain. I possess outstanding technical ability, and I have cultivated appreciation for artistic excellence. Unlike the average human, I have been able to declutter my mind and access space previously ignored. She went on to continue and say, to truly be virtuous, I have formulated the perfect equation for success, which I implement with precision in unique training that not only lies in technique, but in the movements between allowing my reactions to not be within the stimulus, but to be within my subconscious knowledge. I am Deonna Purrazzo, the virtuosa. I wonder if Charlotte Flair has that type of vocabulary in her database. That was awesome. Maybe I should start watching Impact Wrestling because I love Deonna Purrazzo. Purrazzo was a part of the budget cuts on Black Wednesday for WWE. The NXT wrestlers did not have a 90-day. They actually had a 30-day, so she was able to sign with Impact, and that is the reason. Kenny Omega actually responded to criticism, of course, on Twitter. What else would there be? Criticism on Twitter. She reacted to criticism that AEW didn't sign, or he reacted, I should say, to criticism that AEW didn't sign Deonna Purrazzo first. Kenny Omega is happy for Deonna Purrazzo, and he's proud of the AEW women's division. Then he suggested that this fan watch some AEW women's division matches and try suggesting more pointers. So this is what the fan said, this geek on social media. So word is Deonna Purrazzo is heading to Impact Wrestling. My first thought, how is a company like Impact Wrestling able to have a women's division that's 10 times better than AEW's? especially when AEW needs all the help they can get for that division. Then he added Kenny Omega, and he says, Kenny Omega drops the ball again. Now, I don't know how many people legitimately know Kenny Omega's in charge of the women's division or has a big factor in the women's division. But Kenny said this, truly happy for Deonna. I'm incredibly proud of our division and its athletes. You should try watching some of our matches. Start with the recent title match, for example, from a few days ago. And then honestly tell me that we need help. The fan went on and said, because now Kenny pushed this guy's shit in, so then he comes back with this. Of course he does, because he knows he got his shit pushed in. With all due respect, sir, I've watched them all. Women's wrestling is pretty much all I watch. Oh, really? Give me a break. You watch nothing but women's wrestling? Yes, because you sit there and you move into another room while the show is on and you come back only for the women's matches. Clearly you know who Kenny Omega is. Clearly you watch some of Kenny Omega's matches. Otherwise you wouldn't know Kenny Omega's a part of the biggest factor of AEW's women's division. So he says, with all due respect, sir, I've watched them all. Women's wrestling is pretty much all I watch. Bullshit. From all companies, I'm sorry to say, and I'm not alone in this feeling, but aside from a couple of others, only thing you've really done right is that last match. Improve it is all I ask. Kenny then says, some strong thoughts that I very much disagree with, but that's completely fine. Watch what you enjoy, sir. And that ended that. Now, there are a number of ways to take this criticism. Obviously, Kenny Omega decided to take the higher road. Now, if I was on social media and I was in charge of the women's division, I would have probably said, you know what? Don't like, don't watch. Simple in that, right? Don't like, don't watch. But I actually have to agree to some extent that AEW's women's division is weak. It's weak. WWE has one of the best women's divisions in NXT. No matter who is there, WWE managed to scoop up every female in the industry that was available at the time. AEW, you know, they weren't going to be a promotion that was going to be riding high on women's division. It was always going to be another option there. It's going to be another part of the show. It's not going to be a big factor of the show. The factor of AEW that they bring to the table is tag team wrestling, and they bring pro wrestling back to a place where it needs to be. Action, hard-hitting, great wrestling. Women's division is actually on the lower end things of AEW's priority list. Now, with Impact has Tessa Blanchard, and they have Taya Valkyrie, and they have Jordan Grace, and they have a ton of women. Now you're going to add Deonna Purrazzo to that. And they just picked up Kimberly as well. I mean, they got a fantastic women's division. You got a lot of great women over there. It makes me wonder why women are signing with Impact and not signing with AEW. It really makes me wonder why women are choosing to go to Impact over AEW. The only thing I could possibly think of is the competition is better. And the other thing that I can honestly say about women going to an Impact, or even a WWE for that matter, over an AEW, is that Impact has got the competition. AEW's got this buddy-buddy system. You know, everybody knows everybody. They bring in somebody because they're friends with somebody else in AEW. And maybe Deonna Purrazzo didn't want to come in there and be placed in a division that's not going to make her better. Maybe Deonna Purrazzo didn't want to come to AEW because she didn't want to be placed in a division where her only competition right now legitimately is either A, Nyla Rose, or B, Hikaru Shida. Nobody knows when Riho's going to be back on the show. Nobody knows when Bea Priestley's going to be back on the show. Nobody knows when anybody else that they got's going to be on the show. They got Anna Jay, right? Nobody knows. Nobody knows who's going to come into AEW. Nobody knows what's going to happen with AEW's women's division. Maybe she just didn't go because she doesn't know. There's a big question mark on that entire division. She went where the competition was thick. She went somewhere where she's going to be tested. She went somewhere where she can actually test her skills against some of the best in the world. She went somewhere where a division like their women's division is actually outshining their men's division. Their women's division is actually getting more talk than their men's division. And she didn't want to go to another show and just be, okay, here I am, but I'm not a priority. Here I am. The division is not a priority. Why can't we just be happy for Deonna Purrazzo? Yeah, we all got selfish in our ways and said she would be perfect for AEW because we need her. We knew how good she was and we wanted her here. We knew how good she was and now she went over to Impact and now everybody is salty and blaming Kenny Omega because he dropped the ball. Kenny Omega doesn't sign the paychecks. Tony Khan might have offered her more money than Impact. I'm sure he did. If there was an offer on the table. But she went somewhere because that's where she wanted to go. Who the fuck are we to say that Deonna Purrazzo made a bad choice? Who the fuck are we to say that Deonna Purrazzo is making a bad career move? That she can't go to Impact? They're going to tell that woman what she wants to do. She wants to go over there for the reasons that I'm sure I brought are heavy in her decision. She wanted to go there. So let it be. She's not going to be there forever. Minimal 2 years. She'll be in Impact Wrestling. Nobody ends their career nowadays in Impact. Impact, if you guys watch, is always used as either a career restarter promotion, or if you're a younger talent who's just starting in the business, using that as your first little promotion to get your feet wet in, make somewhat of a name for yourself, and then go to an AEW, and then maybe jump to a WWE. Or use that and jump to a Ring of Honor, and then go to an AEW, and you make the rounds, you know? Maybe Impact is giving her an option to possibly work an NWA. Maybe Impact is giving her the option to go and work over in Japan if she wanted to. Who knows? Maybe AEW did not want to give Deonna Purrazzo those luxuries in bringing her in. We don't know. And it's none of our business. So she's happy. Kenny's happy for her. Yeah, she would have fit like a glove in our division, but what is there for her to do in this division? Nothing. AEW is in a very sticky situation. Yeah, you had one match that was really good. I wouldn't even say really good. I would say you had one match that was okay in the end of it. But you're going to have to do more than just tell people, go back and watch our match at Double or Nothing between Shida and Nyla Rose. Your next thing, your thing on the priority list when it comes to the women's division is, who's next for Shida? She beat Nyla. Now what? Who are we going to get in there that's on the same level as a Shida to continue the momentum of the women's division? That's what you need to figure out. And I don't think AEW has that figured out whatsoever. Yes, they do need help. And I think Kenny's being very ignorant. I know how to be ignorant, believe me. But I do think Kenny's being very ignorant in the fact that he thinks the women's division is right where it's at and okay. It's not. It's not. It needs to be better. It really does. But I don't think he needs to be arguing with fucking geeks on social media about his job. If he says something and he's happy for Deonna Purrazzo, leave it at that. He took the high road, and I'm happy that he did, because she's a great talent and she deserves to be happy. Chris Jericho and the rest of the Inner Circle, they were standing around in front of a backdrop. Alex Marvez was there. He told Marvez to shut his mouth, called him a fathead. Says it's going to be a great pep rally with pomp and circumstance, cheerleaders, a drumline, and presence. Said they're going to get back on track after they were robbed. Orange Cassidy then was wandering around in the background, and he walked by all of them. Marvez made this bug-eyed face, like Orange Cassidy was committing a crime. And Jericho asked, did he just do that? And then he walked away. Hikaru Shida versus Christi Jaymes. This one went 5 minutes. Christi Jaymes making her AEW debut, I believe, on Dynamite. Now, I don't watch Dark. She might have been on Dark, but I'm sure Jesse would have told me that tonight. So this may be her full-fledged debut in AEW. She's Brazilian, and Ross says she's from Brazil, but lives in Austin, Tennessee, or Texas, I believe. I don't know if Texas or Tennessee, he said. I don't know. Is there an Austin, Tennessee? I don't know. Austin, Texas, I believe. She then came from a single-parent family who raised 4 kids while getting a doctorate. Shivani then plugged HBO Max, which their logo was all over the arena tonight, on the posts, on the ring apron. And people were asking me today, what's the deal with HBO Max and AEW Dynamite? Are we going to see some form of a show on HBO Max? No, we're not going to see AEW on HBO Max because HBO Max is owned by Warner Media. That's why they're promoting it. That's why it was on Dynamite tonight. Warner Media, who owns TNT, owns HBO Max. That's why they're promoting HBO Max. Don't really dive into, is AEW going to go to HBO Max? No. Do some research and find out that Warner Media is actually the parent company of HBO. So we got 5 minutes in this match. Shida wins. Went a little bit too long for my liking, especially if Shida just came out of a Double or Nothing pay-per-view title win over Nyla Rose. There's no reason why Christi Jaymes should win or even get some offense in this thing. But 5 minutes, she got a little bit too much offense. This match honestly should have been cut in half, about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Shida should have won dominantly. The new champion should not have to sell offense for a relative unknown. I did like what I seen out of Christi Jaymes. She had this spunky personality. She looked great, and she could fit in the women's division. That's the type of personality that I think we all want to see. But whether that happens remains to be seen. Shida wins, and she wins with a Falcon Arrow. And then Raw said she celebrated her win on Saturday night by eating a pint of delicious ice cream at Double or Nothing. Who they line up for Shida, again, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but Shida is the right choice to be the leader of that women's division. So we go to Cody and Shivani in the middle of the ring. This was a promo for Cody Rhodes talking about the TNT Championship. This was awesome. Cody Rhodes is just great at everything he does, man. When he speaks, you listen. When he speaks, it has meaning. He's got one of the best promos in all of the business right now, if not the best in the business. Shivani interviewed Cody middle of the ring. He asked Tony if he knows why Tom Brady is his favorite quarterback. Now, clearly, this was a heel-like maneuver by Cody Rhodes to mention Tom Brady, but he went on to say it's because Brady wasn't the first picked, but he built a legacy. He said the parallel for him is that when Tony Khan imagines building a merit-based wrestling company and a bell-to-bell-based wrestling company, he would want to recruit the best wrestlers in the world. So I wasn't the first call, he said. I wasn't the second call. I am the TNT champion, the first ever TNT champion of America's greatest network. He said it didn't bother him that he wasn't first, second, or even third for AEW, but he is the first ever TNT champion for America's greatest network. He said his story isn't one of nepotism or favoritism. My story is of a 21-year-old kid who got called up to TV before I barely knew how to even hit the ropes. He said he grew up right in front of everybody. He said he didn't get the dominant genes. He said Dustin got all of Dusty's genes. Then they cut to Dustin in the crowd standing next to his wife, Brandy. He said he has a mean old mom, a little Cuban woman, who has a broken ankle right now. She's probably standing on it at home watching this. He said his mother taught him everything he needs to know about grit and talent. He said if you stand next to him on the track, he will outrun you, outdog you, outlast you, outwork you. He said if you are someone who is critical of him bell to bell, judge him for what he does next. He said he's about to cut a schedule like no wrestler before. He said he will stand out here every week. This will be an open challenge, he said. He looked down at his belt. He said they are still in the pandemic era of wrestling, and they are still without their greatest asset, the fan. He said they watch them for 2 hours every single week. The fans watch them for 2 hours every week, and they blew away their projections and pay-per-view buys for Saturday night. I have not seen or heard any of the news about pay-per-view buys yet. I'll probably have some news on the podcast this weekend. He told viewers to follow him because this is where the fun begins. He waved at the audience and shook Tony's hand. Raw says he isn't shocked Cody is going to be a fighting champion, but he didn't expect every single week. I love Cody. I think he's great. Okay? He is absolutely perfect to be the first ever TNT champion. Do I want him wrestling every single week? Do I want this championship defended every single week? The answer is no. I don't. Cody Rhodes is going to blow through opponents every single week. Cody Rhodes blowing through opponents and putting this title on the line every single week means that the title reign is not going to really be all that long. How long can Cody fight every single person in that company in an open challenge before he loses the championship? How long can Cody defend this championship every single week before it starts to get a little tedious? The more you showcase the championship on TV, I feel it's going to be less prestigious in the end. I really do. This is not back in the day where a TV championship was one title of merit and value. There's a reason why a TV championship hasn't been brought back to modern day pro wrestling on TV. There's a reason why WWE didn't bring back a TV championship. Now, AEW is of the old school. They got an old school mentality, an old school mindset. But bringing back a TV championship is not the way to go about it. Having Cody Rhodes defend the championship every single week and blow through opponents left and right is going to mean that there's going to be nobody else left for Cody Rhodes at the end. The title reign is going to be abbreviated. And the value of the championship is not going to be as great as we expected it to be. It's 2020. There are weekly shows, yes, but that doesn't mean your champion has to show up every week. It doesn't mean your championship has to be defended every single week. It's not really what I want out of a television show and a championship on a television show. Yes, I love the old school. There are some aspects of the old school that work. There are some aspects of the old school that don't work. This is one of those aspects of the old school that does not work. I want to see people in competitive matches be built up for a chance at Cody Rhodes. I don't want to see Cody Rhodes give someone an open challenge for the sake of giving someone an open challenge because he's a fighting champion. Yes, he's going to be a fighting champion. Yes, in the beginning stages, he's going to come off as a fighting champion. The title's going to mean something. He's going to bring value and prestige to it. Yes, but the more that happens, who else is there for him to defend that title against? If he runs through everybody else, you're going to have a title that means everything and nobody to have it mean something against. That's what I'm thinking about in this situation. I wish they wouldn't have done this. I wish we would have gotten every title defenses, every now and then title defenses, but here we are. I can't really shit on what they're doing. They think that this is going to work. God bless them. I hope it does. But I'm just in the boat of the more I see it, the less I care. That's the boat I'm in. And that's the mentality we've been given watching WWE programming. The more we see it, the less we care. Why do people on social media cry every single week about Charlotte Flair? Because you see so much of her. There's an overabundance of Charlotte Flair, even tonight. And she'll probably be on Friday's show too. An overabundance of Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair means nothing to WWE television because of the amount of times we've seen her. Cody Rhodes, I don't know if this is going to work out in his favor. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the TNT Championship if he continues to win and goes through people. Is it going to eventually equal a world championship opportunity? Are they going to take the NWA style approach and have him win 6-7 matches in a row and then be deemed the number one contender for the championship? Is it going to be a situation where he wins a string of matches and to get a championship, he has to give up the championship in order to get that world championship opportunity? It could certainly work out that way. That may be one of the reasons that AEW has given Cody this championship and has done this particular aspect. Maybe they're going to go the way of giving Cody that title match that per stipulation he cannot have anymore. He cannot challenge for the world champion. Maybe this is their way out. Maybe he wins these matches. Maybe he wins 6 or 7 matches in a row, gives up the championship, and gets a championship because of what he did with the TNT Championship. Now, he might not factor in the rankings to rank for a title shot, but being that he's the TNT champion and they have a stipulation where he wins matches and the prize at the end of it, if he successfully defends that title 7 times in a row, he can cash it in and get a world championship opportunity. This may be AEW's way to get him and erase that stipulation. I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box. Another thing I'm thinking about, AEW can use this as a way to build intrigue on their shows. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but this could certainly happen. There are guys out there that the longer this goes on, the longer Cody defends this title and successfully defends this title, we get into June, we get into July, you're going to start seeing some of those WWE guys start having their 90-day non-compete clauses come up. Heath Slater, a Rusev, a Zack Ryder, those types of guys, and Eric Rowan, guys like a Leo Rush, guys like that. Maybe AEW can play into the aspect of making this really unpredictable. Is one of the ex-WWE guys going to show? Who's going to show up next? John Cena made the United States Open Challenge fun every single... It didn't last because WWE knew that if it went on too long, he'd run through everybody and it would get boring. But when it started out, for the little time that he did it, it ended up being the best thing on television. Can AEW have the same thing happen with them here with the TNT Championship and Cody Rhodes? I don't know. There are definite pluses to this. There are things that we talked about here that could happen, that could really elevate this and make it fun. But at the end of the day, I am worried that Cody is going to do this and it's not going to mean as much in the end. He's going to run through everybody. There's not going to be a real feud. Maybe they do it for a little bit. Who the fuck knows? Maybe they do it for a little bit and he develops a feud with somebody else and then we get an actual title. Maybe it's not going to be a legitimate TV title for the duration, but at least for the little bit, he's going to be a fighting champion, start off hot, and then kind of ease off a little bit and maybe develop a feud and a bigger match with said opponent. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but Cody Rhodes is the TNT champion at the end of the day is the absolute right decision. There's news on why Cody Rhodes said he had doubts of AEW signing Lance Archer. He actually spoke after the Double or Nothing show. And he said this in regards to Lance Archer, and I quote, "The recruitment of Lance Archer to AEW, Tony Khan and QT Marshall, they were really the ones on that search. I questioned that search, and I have no questions anymore. He's one of the top 3 opponents I've ever had. I cannot wait to step back in the ring with him. A freak hybrid, drug-free athlete. The things he can do, that's what you want." End quote. Unbelievable. So he didn't really have any idea about Lance Archer. QT Marshall and Tony Khan, they were the ones on that search. He questioned that search, and now he has no more questions. So look at that. Team effort, folks. Team effort. Cody didn't know. Cody said maybe it's not going to work out. Tony Khan said, maybe, this is what we got to do. QT Marshall said, this is the guy. They bring him in. And what we seen, Cody said, I have no more questions. This was great. So that's that about Cody and his doubts on Lance Archer joining AEW. Moving on here, man. Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford. Jimmy Havoc against SCU. Didn't really care for this. The winner of this match actually gets a #1 contendership for the tag team titles next week on Dynamite. We got Sabian and Havoc winning in 12 minutes, which I'm not surprised by because we've seen SCU and Paige and Omega twice actually before, so we didn't really want to see it again. So they're going with Sabian and Havoc, and you're probably wondering why. This is stemming from the Double or Nothing show and that ladder match. It was SCU really battling it out with Havoc and Kip Sabian through that match. So they put these two teams in a match, #1 contendership. Next week, it'll be Sabian and Havoc for the tag team championships. Clearly, they're not going to win because the money match here is the Revival FTR versus the team of Omega and Paige. Take the titles off them. Maybe we get the titles involved with the Bucks and FTR. But not even that. Even before we even start talking about that or thinking about that, the best friends. What team do you want to see the best friends go up against? Because right now, they're the #1 contenders for the tag team championship. It's going to be best friends versus Omega and Paige. That's the better match. It's not Sabian and Havoc. So Sabian and Havoc here win tonight. Havoc and Sabian gave Sky a Michinoku driver and a dropkick combo for the win. Excalibur said Sabian and Havoc will now get a tag team title match next week on Dynamite against Paige and Omega. MJF said he's clearly a breakout star in the company. This is your next AEW World Champion, folks. If not, we got some problems. He didn't need to come from another company to get that reputation. So that's 2 shots that we got at WWE tonight. MJF made a mention here. He didn't have to come from another company to be a star. He's already a star. And Cody says that, he mentioned Tom Brady. I'm not big in the Boston area. I'm not welcome in Connecticut anymore, meaning WWE. But MJF says he didn't have to go to another company to get that reputation. He said he's undefeated for over a year, which is very important. So it's pretty perplexing. He has yet to receive a title shot. He said, it seems maybe someone in AEW doesn't like him very much. So he said the Battle Royal was his perfect chance to get what he deserves. He said Wardlow standing behind him was his insurance policy, and he knows what to do when they're the final two. Wardlow obviously said, what? What are you going to do? Wardlow didn't seem to be on the same page. MJF started saying, ha ha ha, I got you, what a rib, we're going to have fun out there, let's go. So Wardlow got upset, because if it was down to Wardlow and MJF, Wardlow wants the title shot. What is he going to do? Eliminate himself? And then MJF says, ha ha ha, what's it, nothing but a rib. Nothing but a rib. Nothing to see here. They're not teasing a split of Wardlow and MJF. That would be terrible. Wardlow and MJF go together like ice cream and whipped cream. It's the one analogy I can come up with. There you go. Now you can see where my fucking appetite is. I want some fucking ice cream while I watch NXT tonight. Got the Battle Royal. MJF came out first. We got Colt Cabana, Christopher Daniels, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Sonny Kiss, Marco Stunt, Luther, Peter Avalon, Brandon Cutler, Billy Gunn came out of the crowd to be a part of it. His son Austin was super excited. Orange Cassidy came out. He was a part of this thing, but he was attacked by Santana and Ortiz at the start. MJF sat on the turnbuckle with Wardlow guarding him. Luchasaurus tossed Luther over the top first. He hit the ring apron hard on the way down. Colt eliminated Sonny Kiss next. MJF rolled underneath the bottom rope and stomped away at Sonny. Ross said MJF is an arrogant Richard. Who the fuck is Richard? I don't know. I don't even know what he was talking about, but that's what he said. It's in the notes. Ross said Sonny and Luther would make a nice couple and referred to Sonny Kiss as she and her. Kind of bizarre there. I didn't know what to think about that. But Sonny Kiss is a him, I believe, right? I don't know. I don't even know anymore. Gunn eliminated Cabana when he flew at him in the corner. So we got the Dark Order. The Dark Order was in the crowd, and Colt was disappointed, and the Dark Order handed a flyer to Colt Cabana to try and recruit him. So we got Boom Boom Cabana in the Dark Order? I don't know. So Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon, they were eliminated. Luchasaurus and Wardlow battled middle of the ring. MJF chop blocked Luchasaurus from behind. Billy Gunn and Luchasaurus stood face to face, nose to nose, mask to face, right? Billy Gunn is actually taller than Luchasaurus, man. That was a sight. Honestly, I'm like, wow, I didn't think Billy Gunn was bigger than Luchasaurus, but here we are. Billy Gunn is a tall motherfucker, man. So they went face to face. Wardlow charged, but they both shoulder tackled him. They battled each other. MJF and Wardlow came up from behind, tossed them over the top rope. It came down to Wardlow, MJF, and Jungle Boy. Orange Cassidy finally rolled into the ring after the beatdown from Santana and Ortiz, and he was never even in the match, so he's in the match now. He gave MJF a soft shove to the chest. MJF then used his strength and shoved Orange Cassidy down. Then MJF used his dynamite ring and swung at Cassidy. Cassidy ducked and he hit Wardlow. Jungle Boy then backdropped MJF over the top rope. Cassidy and Jungle Boy eliminated Wardlow next, which I was surprised by. Came down to Cassidy and Jungle Boy. MJF was throwing a hissy fit at ringside. He had to be held back by the referees. Cassidy hung onto the top rope with one hand, and then he returned in the ring to land a Superman punch. Jungle Boy then head scissored a flying Cassidy over the top rope to win the match, and Jungle Boy is now the number one contender for the TNT Championship. Next week, we got two title matches. Cody versus Jungle Boy and Havoc and Sabian versus Omega and Page. Two big title matches next week. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with Jungle Boy being put over even further by Cody. That should be a great match. After his performance, MJF is on another level, folks. MJF, you could put MJF in this shit, he'd have to win the TNT Championship. So, MJF didn't win this by design. Clearly. They got bigger things in store for MJF. You're talking about world title for MJF. This is fine for Jungle Boy. I would have much rather seen Orange Cassidy win this, but that's just me. Jungle Boy's obviously getting, I would say, rewarded for his match against MJF because it was a great wrestling match. Jungle Boy and MJF both proved to everybody that they can both go. MJF proved he's a main event level talent in AEW. We already knew that, but that was just stamping the exclamation point on that on Saturday night. Jungle Boy showed everybody how good he is and how far along he's come. This is going to be a fun match next week with Cody. I'm okay with him winning here. He's not going to win, and it's going to help Jungle Boy even more to be in the ring with the first ever TNT champion, and being that champion is Cody Rhodes. It's going to be great. There's no way he can lose this. Now, what I didn't like is the Battle Royal. I thought the Battle Royal was a complete waste of time. I thought the Battle Royal shouldn't have even happened this week. I did not even, to be honest with you, I would not be booking a title match this soon with Cody Rhodes. If they really wanted to do something, they could have really made it epic to get that first major match and that first major title defense by Cody. Having it be a Battle Royal. Now, this is just the way I see it. You guys may see it differently. Having a Battle Royal with guys like Sonny Kiss in there, Brandon Cutler, you got Peter Avalon in there, fucking Luther. I mean, give me a break. You're going to throw those types of guys in a Battle Royal and have them contend for the TNT Championship? I don't know what that means, but that doesn't really bring value or, oh my goodness, the TNT title is so important when you guys are watching guys like this wrestle for an opportunity at it. That's just the way I see it. What I would have done is take 4 or 5 of these guys and do a gauntlet match. Do a fatal 4-way of some sort next week. Or they could have did a fatal 4-way tonight and had Jungle Boy win. They could have did the same thing with Orange Cassidy and Jungle Boy in a fatal 4-way with whomever. Could have been MJF, could have been Darby Allin, could have been Trent, could have been anybody. Pick and choose who you want in that ring in a fatal 4-way or a 5-way or a gauntlet match, and dedicate time to come up with the number 1 contender for the TNT Championship and make it feel important. They have 98% nobodies in this match, and then it got down to MJF, Wardlow, Cassidy, and Jungle Boy, and Luchasaur. Those were the only names in there that even stood a chance in this match. So why waste my time for about 7-8 minutes to get to that when you could make it a little bit more interesting by going in another way? I didn't like the Battle Royal at all. It felt like it was just thrown there for the sake of having it, for the sake of coming up with a number 1 contender for Cody Rhodes in the TNT Championship. I thought it was lazy. We got Jungle Boy. Let's look forward to next week. It should be a good match. I can't see Jungle Boy not hitting a home run here with Cody. He's going to do the same thing for Jungle Boy that Jericho did for Jungle Boy, that MJF did for Jungle Boy. Cody Rhodes is going to do the same for Jungle Boy that he did for Darby Allin. So it's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see what happens. Vicky Guerrero excitedly introduced the Inner Circle. Cringe. I never liked Vicky Guerrero, but that's just my taste. Shut up and, excuse me, whatever. Vicky Guerrero was introducing the Inner Circle members. She was screeching like Vicky Guerrero can only screech. And I'm not talking about Screech from Saved by the Bell. This is a worse screech by Vicky Guerrero. Jericho said they will rise again. He opened up the box and threw Stadium Stampede champion t-shirts to the audience because he's got so many of them. Why not? Excalibur says that there was a printing error. The audience members threw the shirts back in the ring. Sammy told Ortiz and Santana to calm down. Sammy said they didn't win, but they did participate, so he gave everyone small trophies. The Jericho trophy said King of Dad Jokes. Sammy said there's a pandemic going on, so he didn't have a great selection. Ortiz handed out gifts. He gave Santana a cheese sandwich. He gave Sammy a small toy. He gave Jericho a framed photo of Mark Antony. Jericho said Sammy is too cool to have nerdy crutches, so he gave him a scooter with a sign on it that said, the Hit Me Up Mobile. Jericho put soundproof earphones on Ortiz because he had his bell rung at the Stadium Stampede match. Ortiz declared when he put the headphones on, I can hear. Hager then read a poem, very uncharismatic. Jake Hager, what do you expect? He read a poem about happiness. Now, I would love to have him write a poem during SmackDown. I would love to see what the fucking poem sounds like. But this clearly was written during Dynamite because he's happy. So he said he can't wait to run over each member of the Elite with his Tesla. He said the pumpkin-headed dipshits might have won the Stampede, but the Inner Circle never loses, and he'll hunt them down where they sleep. He got super intense, and Jericho interrupted and calmed him down because he was going on and on and on about really killing the Elite here. Hager took a deep breath and said, the end, I'm happy. And he didn't smile. And his hair looked great. And his beard looked fantastic. Good job, Jake Hager. Sammy asked Chris what really hurts, what he really wants. Jericho said what he wants is Mike Tyson. And he wants Mike Tyson's head on a platter. He said he hasn't forgotten what Tyson did to him on January 11, 2010, on a Monday night. He didn't say Raw. He said Monday night. Fans were chanting Iron Mike, Iron Mike. And if you guys don't remember, it was a tag team match with Tyson and Jericho versus D-Generation X. And Tyson turned on Jericho and punched him. So he said ever since that day, he has been dreaming of getting his hands on Tyson's fat head. Sammy says he couldn't get his head on a platter for him. He said, but he got him a cheese platter instead with a little bit of the bubbly. Tyson started out with his posse and 6 other guys, including Vitor Belfort. So that was that there. Tyson got in Jericho's face. Jericho told Tyson to shut his mouth when he's talking to him. Tyson was mouthing off at him. He said he's been dreaming of this moment for 10 years. He said he turned on him and knocked him out. Tyson said he deserved it because he stole the championship. Jericho said he was going to give Tyson one chance to apologize for knocking him out or he'll knock him the hell out. Tyson tore off his t-shirt. He flexed. Jericho said he looks great, but apologize. So then he shoves Tyson. And then they both started shoving each other. A brawl broke out. Chaos. The locker room quickly emptied. Tyson was backed up to the stage as the brawl continued in the ring. Ross said a lot of combat power in this one, and it's breaking down in Jacksonville tonight. Tyson broke free. He was dragged to the back again. He tried to charge to the ring. Ross apologized for the chaos, but it is what it is. And then Jericho was yelling, Tyson! Come here, Tyson! Tyson! He reminded me of Tom Hanks in that movie where he was yelling for Wilson. Where Tom Hanks was yelling for Wilson because he couldn't find Wilson, the fucking volleyball, right? And it reminded me of that. Jericho yelling for Tyson! Tyson! And that's the way the show went off the air. I thought whatever the Inner Circle did was entertaining. They're always entertaining. I thought what Jericho and Tyson did face-to-face was great. I thought the stare down between his entourage and the Inner Circle was great. What I didn't think was great was AEW's attempt at recreating history. And I don't know what people are going to think about this when they look back at it. Because that's exactly what I thought. I don't know where this goes. I don't know what type of role Mike Tyson is going to play on AEW. I don't know what AEW's vision is for this. But this was clearly an attempt to relive the Attitude Era, to relive McMahon Austin, and really cash in on Mike Tyson's sudden surge in popularity once again in 2020. That's all that is. Now, Mike Tyson doesn't have a match to promote. He doesn't have an opponent to promote. He doesn't have a comeback to promote. So why is Mike Tyson here? Mike Tyson really didn't do much on AEW Dynamite last week. He had his role at Double or Nothing. He presented the championship. That's it. Now, if everything was going well with Mike Tyson, we were going to get a Mike Tyson-Tyson Fury match and a comeback from Mike Tyson, then this would have made sense. But at the end of the day, there's no comeback. There's no match with Tyson Fury. He's 53 years old. What exactly is AEW doing here? Are they giving us another rehashed Attitude Era McMahon Austin angle with Jericho and Tyson? Why would you go and dip back into that bag and try and recreate that history in 2020 when you know everybody on social media is going to be zinging you on the fact that you're trying to mimic WWE, you're trying to be WWE, and in a poor attempt in doing that, it didn't come off too well. Because WWE, it was genuine and organic there. WWE needed that. AEW doesn't need to go back in the time machine and relive a moment that is never going to be recreated here. Now, AEW is already getting shit for taking all of WWE's ex-guys. I don't believe that to be the case. I think whoever states that or complains about that is a fucking idiot, to be quite honest with you. You're a fucking moron if you think that AEW bringing in the Revival or a Rusev or a Zack Ryder or a fucking Brody Lee and whoever from WWE. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? You got no fucking problem with WWE scooping up every independent talent that's known to man into the company, but you got a problem with AEW taking WWE talent that was never given an opportunity? Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. You'd be a fucking fool to not take a Rusev or a Zack Ryder or an Eric Rowan or a Leo Rush or a Revival. Give me a break. When you can run a business, when you run a business yourself, then you could speak. Let Tony Khan handle the big boy shit, and you sit behind your fucking keyboard typing away about how AEW has nothing but WWE rejects. How do you expect them to grow if there's no fucking talent out there to poach? What WWE thought was junk is going to be AEW's treasure. Because we all know AEW's done a far better creative job than WWE, right? So give them the opportunity to once again resurrect a career that WWE didn't give a shit about. I didn't like this. I think this is going to look bad for AEW. Is it going to get press? Sure. Is it going to be on SportsCenter? Sure. Is it going to be on the weekly sports section of the news? Probably. Is it going to be picked up by every major publication online? Probably. Is it going to generate into ratings for AEW? Probably not. Probably not. Mike Tyson's appeal only goes so far. Now that the match and the comeback isn't happening, at least not yet, what appeal is there? All you're left with is one of the greatest fighters, if not the greatest fighter of all time, at 53 years old, who has no comeback to come back to, with AEW using his name brand and his value to recreate one of the most iconic moments in the history of the Monday Night Wars. And it didn't look too good. In fact, AEW made it look like they were a little desperate, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, I don't know where this leads. Does Jericho and Tyson have a match? Does Jericho and Tyson relive a tag team match where they're on opposite sides? Does Tyson team with Cody? Does Tyson team with somebody? I don't know. Who does Jericho? Jericho probably teams with Hager or Sammy. I could see Hager in this case, being that he's the bigger guy and the legit fighter here. You know? Does this happen at Fyter Fest? Is this a way for them to sell Fyter Fest? I don't know. So we'll see what happens, man. But that's all I got for you on the Dynamite review. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below in the comments section. And if you're new here, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell for all notifications. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. And if you missed any of the videos that I've uploaded on the channel as of late, links are down below in the description of this very video. Guys, I'll be live on YouTube tomorrow. Live. So make sure you guys check that out around 1:30, 2 o'clock with the NXT review. Usually I'm here for an hour. We'll take some super chats. We'll go over NXT because as soon as this is uploaded, I get to watch an NXT for the night. And I want to see what happens tonight with William Regal and Adam Cole and the negotiations. We'll see what happens. I don't know if they're going to take Adam Cole's real-life negotiations and his contract and make it into a storyline. We'll see what happens. Should be interesting, but I'll see you guys live right here on YouTube tomorrow. And like I said, if you enjoyed this podcast, hit that thumbs up. Thank you guys for all the support. I love you. And I'll see you right back here tomorrow for a live edition of NXT right here on Off the Script. See you guys then.